welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Always a pleasure to be back.
So I'm sure a lot of you listening out there are like me in that you love learning new words. But
Yeah.
sometimes those words, they
They get away from you.
just don't stick around.
Yeah.
And then you hear somebody use it like a week later and you're like, oh yeah, I meant to look that up. And it's a very frustrating feeling.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like you catch a glimpse of something beautiful, but then it fades away.
Yeah.
Like
It's almost like it was never...
like an ephemeral sunset or something like that.
Yeah, ephemeral. That's a good word for it.
It is.
It's like a beautiful sunset and then it's gone.
Exactly. And that's the challenge we're diving into today on the Deep Dive.
That's right. And we're not just talking about, learning new words and kind of just getting a definition.
No.
We're talking about how to really make these words a part of your vocabulary.
Absolutely.
For good.
Your working vocabulary, we want to give you the tools to actually use them.
Exactly. So you can whip them out in conversation
Precisely.
and sound super smart.
That's the goal. And to do that, we need to understand why words slip away in the first place.
Okay, so why do words keep disappearing from our brains? I mean,
Well, it's like
well, you're on up there.
our brains are constantly sorting information, prioritizing what we use most often.
Okay.
It's like decluttering a closet. You've got those everyday items right up front, the things you reach for without even thinking.
Yeah, like my jeans and a t-shirt.
Exactly. Like in language, those are your hello and thank you, the words you use constantly.
Got it. So high frequency words are like
Right there in the front.
right there front and center.
But then you have those other words like ephemeral
Right.
that you might come across once in a while.
Yeah.
If you don't actively use them, they kind of get shuffled
Yeah, they get shoved
to the back of the closet.
to the back.
And eventually it becomes harder and harder to find them.
Like when I'm looking for my Christmas sweater.
Exactly. It's like your brain is saying, hey, you haven't worn this in a while. Maybe you don't need it.
Maybe donate it.
Right. Maybe donate it.
Okay, so our brains are kind of like ruthless organizers.
They are. They're all about efficiency.
Okay, so that's one reason. Another thing that the conversation we looked at really highlighted was this idea of learning words in isolation.
Yes. This is so common, just jotting down a word and its definition in a notebook,
Yep, been there, done that.
but without any real connection to your own life.
Yeah.
It's like it's just floating out there, untethered.
It's like trying to remember a phone number
Yeah.
that someone just like rattles off.
Exactly. You need something to hook it onto.
Yeah, you gotta write it down or put it in your phone or something.
Exactly.
Okay, so that makes sense. And that leads us, I think, very smoothly into some of the common mistakes that were brought up.
Right. And these are things that can really sabotage our vocabulary efforts.
Mistakes we might not even realize we're making.
Exactly. Like passive learning, for instance.
Yeah.
Just reading a word, looking it up, but not really engaging with it. I think we've all been guilty of that at some point.
Yeah, totally guilty as charged.
Right. And then there's rote memorization.
Oh, yeah. Just trying to cram it in.
Just repeating the word and definition over and over again
Yeah.
without really understanding it.
Without connecting with it.
Exactly. They gave the example of ubiquitous.
Okay.
You might memorize that it means found everywhere. But if you can't actually picture a ubiquitous object,
Like a smartphone.
yes, like a smartphone or something.
Or a coffee shop.
Exactly. Then it's just an abstract idea that's easy to forget.
It's like having a bunch of ingredients but no recipe.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah, you have all the pieces, but you can't actually make anything with them.
Precisely.
And then the last big mistake, and this one I am definitely guilty of, is not reviewing regularly.
Oh, yes. This is crucial. Our memories are not perfect.
Definitely not.
We need to reinforce what we learn or it will fade. It's like weeding a garden.
Yes, you can pull out all the weeds today, but if you don't keep at it, they'll just come back.
Yeah, so true. Okay, so we know why words disappear and we know some of the common pitfalls. Now, let's talk solutions. What are the best strategies for making these words stick for good?
All right, well, the first one, and I think this is really the most important, is using the word in context.
Okay.
This gets right to the heart of the problem of learning in isolation.
Right.
When you create your own sentences with the word sentences that are meaningful to you, you're making it relevant to your own life and your own understanding.
Okay, so like with ephemeral,
Yes.
we could say the beauty of a sunset is ephemeral.
Perfect.
Because it only lasts for a few minutes.
Exactly. Now you have a vision, you have an emotional connection.
Right. It's not just a dictionary definition anymore. It's like I can actually picture that sunset.
And that's what makes it stick.
Yeah.
I see. So by creating our own sentences, we're kind of forcing our brains to connect the word with something we already know.
Exactly. You're weaving it into your existing web of knowledge.
Well, that's a great way to put it. Okay, next up we have creating associations.
Ah, yes. This is about harnessing the power of our brain's natural tendency to link things together.
Okay, so we're talking about mnemonics and things like that.
Not just mnemonics, any kind of vivid connection that helps you remember.
Okay.
They mentioned the gregarious gorilla.
Okay, I like that one.
Right. It's memorable. It's funny.
A party animal gorilla.
Exactly. And that's the key. Our brains remember things that stand out, things that are unusual.
So if I'm trying to remember lugubrious,
Which
means mournful or gloomy,
yeah.
I could picture like a lugubrious lemon that's all sad because it got squeezed.
Perfect. I love it.
The sad lemon.
The sad lemon, exactly. You're making it visual. You're making it personal.
And the sillier the better, I guess.
Often, yes. The more unique and personally relevant the association, the better it will stick.
Okay, this next one sounds a bit more systematic, spaced repetition.
It is. It's a proven technique that leverages how our memory naturally works.
Okay.
You know, there's this thing called the forgetting curve.
Okay.
We naturally forget things over time.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Spaced repetition is about working with that curve, not against it.
So instead of just trying to cram a ton of words at once and forgetting them.
You space out your review sessions.
Okay.
You revisit the words just as you're about to forget them.
So like maybe a day later, then a few days later, then a week later, and so on.
Exactly. Each time you recall the word, you're strengthening the memory trace.
It's like giving your brain a little workout.
It is. And there are some great tools that can help you with this, like Anki and Quizlet.
Yeah, those were mentioned. Those are apps, right?
Yes. They basically automate the process of spaced repetition.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah. They'll remind you when it's time to review each word.
Oh, so you don't have to like keep track of it all yourself.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of it.
Okay, that sounds super dope. Now, this next strategy seems like a really smart way to expand your vocabulary, learning word families.
This is all about being strategic. You know, instead of learning individual words in isolation, you learn groups of words that share a common root.
Okay.
Like they gave the example of create, creation, creative, creativity.
Oh, yeah. So you're learning like 4 words.
Exactly. And you're also getting a deeper understanding of how language works.
Right. Because you can see how those words are all connected.
Exactly. It's like understanding the trunk of a tree and then seeing all the branches that grow from it.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
Okay. And then we have mnemonics.
Yes, the classic memory trick.
These always make me think of like little rhymes and acronyms and things like that.
Exactly. There are memory aids that use associations, rhymes, or acronyms to make information more memorable.
Like for ambivalent, they suggested, am I feeling positive or negative? I'm ambivalent.
Perfect. It creates a direct and memorable link between the word and its meaning.
So it's like a little story or a sentence that helps you remember the definition.
Exactly. And the more personal and engaging the mnemonic, the better it will stick.
Okay, so mnemonics can be really helpful. Now, what about practicing active recall? This one sounds like it's really putting your memory to the test.
It is. It's all about actively retrieving information from your memory without looking at notes or definitions.
Okay.
So instead of just passively rereading something, you force yourself to remember it.
So like right now, if I wanted to practice active recall, I would try to remember the definition of ephemeral without looking back at my notes.
Exactly. And that active retrieval strengthens the memory trace.
It's like exercising a muscle, but for your brain.
Precisely. You're training your brain to recall information on demand.
I like that. Okay, and then finally, and I think this is probably the most important tip of all, is using the words in real life situations.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely.
When you actually use the words in your conversations in your writing, you're signaling to your brain that these words are important.
Right.
You're making them an active part of your vocabulary.
So it's not enough to just know the definition.
No.
You have to actually use the words.
You have to put them into practice.
Okay, so if I learn a new word like serendipitous, I should try to use it in a conversation that day.
Exactly. Or write it in an email or a text message.
The more I use it, the more likely I am to remember it.
Absolutely. You're reinforcing the neural pathways and making that word a part of your everyday language.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of really great strategies for learning and remembering new words. But as we all know, motivation is a big part of the equation.
Oh, absolutely. You have to stay motivated if you want to make real progress.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's easy to just give up.
Exactly. And the conversation we looked at had some great tips for staying motivated.
Like what?
Well, first of all, setting goals.
Okay.
Specific, achievable goals.
So not just, I want to learn more words.
Right. Something like, I'm going to learn 5 new words this week.
Okay, so break it down.
Exactly. Break it down into manageable chunks.
And then track your progress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And celebrate your successes along the way.
Because that feeling of accomplishment can be really motivating.
It is. It gives you a sense of momentum and keeps you going.
Okay. Setting goals, that's a good one.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yeah. They also talked about the importance of community.
Oh, yeah. Finding other people who are also learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, joining a language learning group or finding a study buddy.
Right. Because it can get lonely.
It can.
And you're doing it all by yourself.
Absolutely. And having that shared experience can be really encouraging.
It's like having a workout buddy.
Exactly. You can motivate each other and hold each other accountable.
Okay. So setting goals, finding a community, anything else?
Yeah. They also talked about the importance of celebrating small wins.
Oh, yeah. Like giving yourself a pat on the back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Acknowledging your progress, even if it's just learning one new word.
Right. Because every little bit counts.
It does. And it keeps you feeling positive and motivated.
Okay. So setting goals, finding a community, and celebrating small wins.
Exactly. Those are some great ways to stay motivated on your vocabulary journey.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive into vocabulary learning.
I agree.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that it's not just about memorizing words.
Right.
It's about actively engaging with them,
Absolutely.
making them meaningful,
Yes.
and finding ways to use them in real life.
It's about making them a part of who you are.
Exactly. So to all of you listening out there, I challenge you to pick one new word that you've learned recently or that you want to learn. And in the next day, make a conscious effort to use one of the strategies we've talked about today.
Great idea.
Maybe try using it in a sentence. Or create a funny mnemonic for it.
Yeah.
Or just try to recall the definition without looking it up.
Perfect.
And then just pay attention to what happens. Notice how it feels different from just passively reading a definition.
Exactly. You're taking control of your learning.
You're making those words a part of your own vocabulary.
And that's what it's all about.
That's right. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Always a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.
See you then.